All right, let's talk about Zeke Nnaji's extension. So over the weekend, Denver signed Zeke Nnaji, the former number 22 pick in the 2020 draft, to a rookie scale extension worth 4 years and $32 million. That contract is fully guaranteed, and I'm just going to pop up the details of that contract here. The first year, 24-25 season, is worth $8.9 million. That's just over 6% of the cap. The next season, 25-26, is worth $8.2 million, worth about 5.5% of the cap. 26-27, it goes down again to basically $7.5 million and just under 5% of the cap. And then in the final season, that value stayed the same, again at about $7.5 million and around 4.5% of the cap. Now that final season, however, does include a player option. So this is an interesting trend in terms of salary structure that we're starting to see here, where it goes down and then in the final season it either remains flat or goes back up. We saw Cam Johnson sign this similar structured contract in July, and then we just saw Devin Vassell sign it a few weeks ago. So that's interesting, and we'll get into probably why teams are doing this here in a second. Just want to also point out this contract doesn't have any incentives. There's no trade kickers. It's just that player option in year 4 to be mindful of. This contract can be traded, so Zeke Nnaji is eligible to be traded right away. However, his contract is poison pilled. So any rookie scale extension that you see here is poison pilled, which means the outgoing salary in a trade for Denver, in this case, would be his current salary this season, which is $4.3 million. But for the incoming team, the salary from a trade math perspective, his salary would be the average of this year and all upcoming seasons. So that would be about $7.26 million. So it would be a lopsided trade, which makes it a little trickier to sign these, to trade away these players after they sign these rookie scale extensions. When it's a lower number, it's a little bit easier to figure out a way to make it work. But the higher you go, the more lopsided that those values get. So from Denver's perspective, they obviously went with a declining contract structure for the first few years and then flat. One of the reasons that I think that they would do this is because next season, their team salary is projected from an Apron perspective around $195 million if I had to project it out, assuming that KCP, Reggie Jackson pick up their player options, and the rest of the team is basically signed on minimum deals. Their salary is going to be around $195 million, and if the cap rises at 5%, then yeah, they're going to be a second Apron team, and this contract would have pushed them slightly over that. However, if the cap rises by 10%, which is how much it rose by this coming season, they'll actually be right below the second Apron, which should at that point be around $201 million, and they'll have a team salary of around $195 million. So it'll be interesting to see where they fall, and if it does come in closer to 5%, whether that makes Denver make any different decisions and maybe offloading a smaller contract or something to stay below that second Apron. Now, keep in mind, in next season is when the penalties for the second Apron start to get even harsher. One of the big ones is the frozen draft pick rule that kicks in for teams that are over the second Apron. That starts next season, so that's something definitely to watch for. Now, Denver, there's no change to their financial status for this season. They're still about $12.5 million over the tax. They're still over the first Apron, but below the second Apron by about $4.5 million. So all the implications for this contract are going to be for the next season. And Denver now has their backup center locked up. And they're pretty much locked. They've pretty much locked in the majority of this championship team into the near future now. They have 10 players guaranteed for the 24-25 season, with 3 more players that have options on their contract, 2 player options for Reggie Jackson and KCP, and then 1 player on a team option, Vlatko Kankar. So we'll see. They're pretty committed to this team, but if you're going to be committed to a team, it might as well be a championship team, which this team is. So we'll see how that goes, but congratulations to Zeke Nnaji on that 4 years, $32 million. All right. There was one other extension that was made official over the weekend, and that was Zach Collins. He didn't sign a rookie scale extension. He signed a veteran extension. But before we look at his extension, let's look back on Zach Collins' career because I think it's pretty interesting. Zach Collins, he was drafted number 10 overall back in 2017. He played his first 4 seasons with Portland. In his final 2 seasons with Portland, Zach Collins only played 11 games due to injury. So once his rookie scale contract was up, Portland didn't extend him a qualifying offer. He ended up being an unrestricted free agent, at which point he signed a deal with San Antonio. That deal was worth 3 years, $22 million, but he only had about 50% guaranteed. He had $10.6 million guaranteed on that contract. His first season with San Antonio, again, was filled with injuries, but after 3 long years where he couldn't stay on the court, last year he was finally able to restore his value and get his career back on track. Last year he played 63 games, and he ended up putting up career highs in points, rebounds, assists, and field goal percentage. And that's what led to him signing this extension, which is 2 years, $35 million. And great news for him, this time around it's fully guaranteed, no options. Another thing about this extension was since he's in his final season, he was actually eligible to sign his extension anytime from now all the way until June 30th, 2024. San Antonio could have signed that extension with him anytime. So it was a great sign of faith, I think, from San Antonio to sign it before the season started. So this upcoming season, Zach Collins, he's still earning the final salary from the previous contract. So he's going to be earning $7.7 million, around 5.5% of the cap. But next season, he's going to start his extension, which is going to start his salary at $16.7 million and around 12% of the cap. And then the following season in 25-26, that's going to jump up to about $18.1 million and around 12% of the cap. So, in most extensions, they can start at 140% of the previous salary. So obviously his salary was $7.7 million. 140% of that wouldn't get you up to $16.7 million. But extensions can also be 140% of the estimated average player salary. And the estimated average player salary is around $12 million. So that's how they got his extension to start at around $16.7 million. They based it off of that. His extension does exceed the extend and trade parameters, which means he now becomes ineligible to be traded for 6 months. So he'll be eligible to be traded on April the 22nd, 2024, and that's after the trade deadline. So Zach Collins, he'll be with San Antonio at least for this season. He won't be going anywhere. Another interesting note, I thought, if you look back on Zach Collins' career earnings, in his first 7 seasons, including this upcoming one, he's earned $38 million. And with this extension in the next 2 years, he'll make $35 million and almost matching what he earned in his first 7 seasons, which is awesome. I think this is a great news story. So congratulations to Zach Collins and the San Antonio Spurs.